So normally my thought process when buying these cheap singles is like, all right, if I get a bunch of cheap singles, it'll be like penny stocks, and then if they take off, then I'll do really well, and that'll be good, and they're kind of cheap, so hey, there's a lower risk, right? And while yes, I would agree that a bunch of these cheaper cards could take off in price, and then I could see massive gains on all of my cheap cards that I bought, I do think that there is another way to look at this, and I'm going to kind of break that down right now. The other way to look at this is that the cards are cheap right now because people don't necessarily want them, and that might be an indicating factor of trends in the future. Maybe these cards might not take off. Maybe these cards are unpopular for a reason. So you could argue that it would be better to spend more money on a more expensive card. While yes, it could tank in price, and that would suck more because you spent more money on it. If it tanks in price, you can still sell it for what it's worth, so you're not usually taking an entire loss of all the money you invested in. You're usually maybe cutting what you invested in half, if that. Depends how quick you are to list it and how far the market tanks, but realistically, like, it's not that bad. It's not like you're gonna lose all of your money. And on top of that, arguably the most important thing that people tend to forget about is liquidity. So let's break down a quick scenario for you really quick. Let's say you buy 20 cards and they're $10 a piece. Now let's say you take that $200 and you spend it on one card. A $200 card is a card that people are going to desire. You can get some pretty nice cards for $200. I recently bid on a holographic Blastoise and Venusaur from base set Japanese, and each of those together combined to around like $130, give or take. So that's saying something. $200, in my opinion, can get you a really nice card. So on one side, we have 20 cards that have doubled in price, and now your $200 has become $400. On the other side, we have one card that has doubled in price, and now, again, that $200 has become $400. In which scenario is it going to be easier for you to claim your profits? That's right, when you have to sell one card that everybody kind of already likes versus 20 cards of stuff that you're fond of and maybe a couple people like you, but it doesn't have that spotlight on it. It doesn't have that popularity that your one card could have. And that's probably why so many people that have been in this space for a long time trying to make money with singles are slinging these much larger cards and oftentimes slabs. But I'm always concerned because there is that line of like getting a white elephant. And a white elephant is a term that I've heard in real estate where it's basically like you have something that's so extravagant and so expensive that nobody wants it. And I definitely think that the bigger ticket items tend to be that way, but that's just my small point view. That's my small viewpoint. That is my small-minded viewpoint. I need to realize that a lot of these people in this space have insanely deep pockets and look at this as just an investment. They just don't flinch when they spend like $15,000 on like 2 cards or something. They're just like, oh, whatever, I just need these 2 cards because whatever, it's an investment, whatever. But like to me, $15,000 is like I would need to like my knees would start to tremble. I'd need to sit down if I spent that kind of money. So I really don't know. I just think the more money you get, the more time you spend in the space, the more you get to sling stuff around, the easier it is, the less money feels like money, and it doesn't hurt as much when you start spending those big bucks. So maybe eventually I'll get to that point. But right now I've been doing smaller ticket items, smaller fish to fry. And I also think that when it comes to these singles and just making money really quickly and claiming profits, I think a lot of that is really going to be with vendor tables. I think if you want to make a lot of money as a Pokemon business in any way, I think you really should look into vendor tables, because just the fact that you can buy things from people for around 70 to 80% market value, and that's kind of just okay and standard. I mean, that's money that can be made right off the top if you're churning and burning right there. I know the table costs money, but the more that I think about it, the more that I'm really thinking vending is the way to go. So I might actually do a vending experience sometime. I might actually do a card show and actually see what it's like. I don't know if I'm going to record that. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a video on that, but I might actually end up doing that because it just seems like the way to go if you're trying to make money in Pokemon. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on investing in singles. I feel like I've just been doing it wrong this whole time because I've been looking at them as like penny stocks and, oh, I don't want to spend too much money. I want to be safe. But then I have 10 cards that are like worth $10 to $20, and it's like, okay, now I gotta sell 10 of these, and it's just a pain in the ass, and they're not as fun to look at. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I get way more pleasure when I look at like my holographic Blaine's Charizard or Dark Charizard or something than I do when I look at, you know, a rat-a-tat or some 25th anniversary rat-a-tat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, those are my thoughts on single card investing. My opinion has kind of changed a little bit. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching the video all the way to the end. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. I just think it's too hard to tell what exactly is going to happen because it's too hard. I don't know where the floor is right now. I don't know where the ceiling is right now with this investing stuff. So I don't know what is what. So when I break it down like that, it really has me thinking that I should stop investing in a lot of cheap cards. I should start investing in more expensive cards that I believe in, that I really like, and just hope that they don't crash in price and that we're not in a massive bubble that's going to pop at any second. At the end of the day, when it comes into this investing space, like, there's going to be risk at every turn. You're never going to pick an investment and be like, I 100% am guaranteed that this is going to double in price. You know why? Because you would have just dropped your entire life savings into it at that point if you knew, you know? I feel like I've been investing in cards wrong. I've been investing in singles wrong. Primarily, I like to invest in like booster boxes, UPCs, booster bundles, things that are sealed, things that kind of hold that MSRP value because they're sealed long term, you know what I mean? When it comes to buying cards, I feel like everything is way more speculative because people just set a price of what they think the value is and then that raises and lowers. Whereas when people set a product to sell, the company says, yeah, this is what it's worth. So in that way, investing in singles is far more speculative, and I tend not to do it, even though I recently made a video talking about singles that I just recently invested in, and you should go check that out. But I'm going to tell you why that video was actually a mistake. Investments in that video were a mistake because I went really cheap. I tried to go a super cheap route. I tried to get cards that were under $20. And that is actually something that I'm reconsidering at this point. I'm starting to think maybe I should go for cards that are around $100 or more, which is way riskier, especially considering the fact that we're in this massive hype bubble that we don't know where the floor or the ceiling is for this. So right now it's really sketchy as to buying things as investments because it's like, is this gonna pop tomorrow or is this the floor? Like there's really no way to tell because things are just unprecedented right now. The reason that I usually buy cheaper singles is because I look at them almost like penny stocks. I look at them like, all right, I can buy a bunch of these little ones, and if they take off, then I'm going to do really well, right? But realistically, most of those cards are cheap because people don't want them right now, and that kind of means that people don't really want those cards. So does that mean that they're not going to be popular in the future? Not necessarily, but I mean, it's definitely an indicating factor right now.